welcome to my crazy channel. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And come join me in my crazy cancer journey. You never know quite what to expect.
Hey guys, it's Tammy. Today's video is going to be a bit of a story time video. I don't know if I've done a story time video yet. I don't think I have. I'm on so many different freaking meds, I don't even remember what happened 3 minutes ago, let alone a few weeks ago. So I don't think I've really done a story time, but today we're going to do a story time. Yes, I have done a story time about when I poisoned people. So I think this is my second story time video. Today's story time video is a little bit more serious. So before I start this video, I do want to say that I have changed the name of the guy simply because he is alleged or thought to have. There has never been any official charges. He has never been actually charged or gone through the court system in Ireland. So I am changing his name, but you can easily Google it. I'm keeping the name of the victim or alleged victim because she's still classified missing. And it's her real name. So just so I can clarify that. And most of my story time is going to be based on what was told to me by the guy. And for this video, I'm going to call him Bob. So I'm kind of going from Bob, or what Bob shared with me. So let's get started. This all happened in 2002, and I was living in Winnipeg at that time. I was going to school part-time at the University of Manitoba, and I was working full-time to support myself. And I thought, you know what, I'd like to meet somebody or go on some dates or whatever. So I went on to Matchcom and I did a profile. And just to let you know, for those of you that don't know, my area of work is actually IT. So I didn't really have a fear of online dating. And in 2002, online dating, that kind of stuff was still relatively new. And people were still kind of a little bit cautious of it. But because I worked with computers and, you know, IT is my area, I just didn't have the same fears as other people did. So I had no problem with online dating. To me, there was no difference between meeting someone you don't know from online to somebody you don't know at a library. So I put on my profile and I got a whole bunch of responses. And one of the responses really stood out to me because when I checked his profile, and of course it was Bob, when I checked his profile in the About Me, it said something along the lines of, what am I supposed to say in here? That I'm an axe murderer with an attic full of bodies? And of course I have a sense of humor, so I took that as funny, like ha ha ha. And I messaged him back and said, I checked out your profile. I said, I guess I'm going to have to do some research and see if there are any missing women in Ireland. And he responded back to me and said something along the lines of, it's funny you should say that because my girlfriend has been missing for 6 years. Well, now I was interested, and not because I wanted to date somebody with a missing girlfriend, but because my first thought was, did this guy kill her? And I am the type of person that does a lot of research. I like thrillers. I like figuring things out. It's one of the reasons why I like computers, because it's actually a lot of, I gotta figure this out, how do I fix this kind of thing. So I'm kind of intrigued now. Is this guy a killer? And so I started communicating with him, and he started to share the story. So in 1996, August of 1996, his girlfriend of a few years, I can't remember how long they were together, went missing. And at the time that she went missing, she was 7 or 8 months pregnant. And of course, right away, I know that in most cases when a pregnant woman goes missing, it's usually the spouse that is usually the one responsible. And always the spouse is the first suspect. So I knew right away he would have been the suspect. So I started doing a lot of research on Google, but was not coming up with anything mentioning his name. And I came to find out that they don't really mention suspects' names in Ireland, because if the person has not been charged with a crime but they're only a suspect, you can't really divulge that information. And I'll share with you how it all plays out just a little bit more into the story. So he started sharing more and more and more about his story, and his girlfriend's name, and this is her real name, was Fiona Pender. And Fiona, like I said, was 7 or 8 months pregnant when she went missing. And yeah, it's a really tragic story, actually. So his family and Fiona's family did not like each other. His sisters, because I believe he was the only boy, and he had 3 sisters, I believe. The sisters did not like Fiona. They felt like she was a gold digger. Bob was the son of a very wealthy landowner. He came from a very wealthy family, a very well-to-do family, and they had money. And Fiona Pender's family were working class. They didn't have money, like they weren't rich or anything like that. I don't think they were starving by any means, but they were not at the same financial level as Bob's family. And so the family was very suspicious of Fiona. The other thing was that Fiona was Catholic and Bob's family was Protestant. And I remember reading a news article talking about that, how people were saying that Bob's family didn't like Fiona because she was Catholic, and his father at that time was interviewed and he denied that. He said that's not true. He didn't care if Bob dated a black woman, or I hate using that word, a colored woman, whatever, somebody who was not Caucasian, as long as Bob was happy. So I don't know the truth about that. Bob said to me that his family, that was not the reason. The real reason was because they thought she was just looking for money. So anyway, they had dated a while. She got pregnant. They moved in together. They lived in a small apartment in, I believe it was Tullamore, Ireland. I think they fought a lot. Like, he didn't come out and say, oh, we fought a lot, but it seemed like they argued a lot from the tone I gathered from him. So the day she went, okay, so the day before she went missing, Bob went to work. He worked on his dad's farm, and Fiona went shopping with her mom to buy some baby things. Fiona's mom dropped her off at home in the evening, and that was the last time Fiona's family or mother saw her or heard from her. And Bob said he got home that evening. They had an argument because apparently, this is what he told me, it was rumored that Fiona was cheating on him with some guy on a motorcycle. And he was suspecting that this baby was not his. He said they had the argument, they went to bed. The next morning he got up and he went to work. They didn't talk anything, but when he left early that morning, 5 a.m. or somewhere along the lines of that time frame, the next day, she was still sleeping in bed when he left. And this is where it gets a little bit funny, because from what I've read from Fiona's family, it was Fiona's mother that called Bob to see if Fiona was there. Bob told me a different story. He said that he called Fiona's mother to find out if Fiona was with them. So I don't know who's telling the truth. I tend to believe Fiona's mom over Bob, but because I don't see why Fiona's mother would lie about that. But anyway, sometime in the evening of the next day, it came to light that she was missing. Apparently, she had some American friends visiting, so at first Fiona's family thought, well, maybe she's out with the American friends, but They went looking. They even went to her brother's gravesite. He had died from a motorcycle accident the year before, and she wasn't there. So they couldn't find her. I don't think anything was missing from the apartment other than what she was wearing. And none of her bank accounts or anything like that had been touched at all. So she's just missing off the face of the earth. And to this day, she's still missing. And they have no idea what happened to her. So Bob and I are talking back and forth. He had shared all this with me, and now he wants to meet me. I did have to admit, I got nervous. I got nervous because I wasn't sure if he was guilty or not. And this is going to sound really bad, but from talking with him, because we were, first of all, talking on Match back and forth, and then we started emailing, and then we started video calling, or not video calling, but calling each other over the computer. At that time in 2002, cameras were still fairly a new thing, and they were really expensive, and I couldn't afford one. I'm pretty sure he could, but I just could not afford to invest in a camera at that time. And so I didn't have a camera. So we had to do it through voice calling over the computer. And he wanted to come to Canada. So he said he had done a lot of research into Canada, and it was a place that he would be very interested in moving to. And so we made the arrangements, and he booked a motel for a week, and he came to Winnipeg. And I did not feel comfortable letting him know where I lived. I didn't feel comfortable him even knowing my house number or anything like that. And so I did agree to meet him at the motel in the lounge area, which we did, because it was a public place and I felt comfortable there. And I did go and spend a couple of days. Nothing intimate happened between the two of us at the motel with him, but we ended up getting into an argument. And I will tell you something, I saw a totally different side to that guy. When I was talking to him and we were having a good time, he was such a jovial person, liked to joke around, had a really great sense of humor, and really seemed like an awesome guy. But as soon as we got into that argument, he turned into a very dark person. It was almost like his total face expressions changed, and he became very dark and almost, I hate to use the word evil, but it was almost like that. And I got a really bad feeling from him, and I left, and I didn't go back. And I think it was then that I knew that he, in my heart, what I suspected was that he had something to do with Fiona's disappearance. I think I kind of suspected it before, but his sense of humor and the fun talk we had and all of that kind of stuff kind of made me second guess myself, because the day before he came to Canada, before I met him, I had a really bad dream. I had a dream that I was on a bus going to work, and my workplace was in the middle of a wilderness, woodsy area. And I got off the bus and I had to walk with everybody, and I was outside on my break time, and this woman came up to me. She had an orange cloak on, and I remember this dream because it really bothered me. And she went to hug me, and I felt like this evil entity, and all of a sudden trees started popping up where there was no trees, just started popping up out of the ground, and I became panicked. I woke up in a panic, and I knew this dream was telling me, be careful. And so when I met him and we had this argument, and I saw this other side to him where he became very dark, and then he started sulking like a big baby, I knew this guy's got a very dark side to him. And I just knew in my heart. And for some reason, I felt a connection to Fiona Pender, and I still do. My deepest, deepest wish is that they would find her so that her mother, who is actually really sick, could put her daughter to rest. That's her number one dream. Her mother has fought endlessly to try to find her daughter, and I can't even imagine what the mother is going through. So if you want to Google it, you can Google Fiona Pender missing in Tullamore, and you will find a lot of information about this story. So what ended up happening was a few years went by, and a couple of years ago, because I read the news every day, all of a sudden there's this article about Bob in Canada being charged for assaulting his wife. I guess he got married in Ireland. They moved to Saskatchewan, and his wife had him charged with sexual assault. And so he ended up moving to Canada. He really had a deep interest in Canada. He wanted to come here. And so his wife here in Canada had him charged with sexual assault, and also she went and told the Gardaí that he told her where he buried Fiona Pender's body. Of course, when the Gardaí, or whatever you call them, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm calling them the Gardaí. I don't know, because I'm kind of reading it, I think, like French. But anyway, when the police in Ireland did a search in the area that he had told her, allegedly told her, where the body was buried, nothing came up. And he never obviously admitted to me that he did it. He always said he was innocent. But I have a suspicion he probably, I hate saying this. I'll tell you why I suspect this. He used to like to talk about Fiona Pender a lot, about the disappearance and all these theories behind her disappearance. And he told me that one of the theories was that Fiona had been having an affair with a doctor, or this doctor had an obsession with her, and the doctor killed her and fed her body to pigs. And I don't know if on the farm that Bob had, if there were pigs or not, but that's something I probably would look into. And I suspect that if there were pigs on that farm, I'm wondering if that's what happened, as horrible as it sounds. But he kept talking about feeding her to these pigs. But that's my story time, and that's why I no longer do online dating. Actually, I rarely date at all. I am very selective on who I even share my personal, intimate information with. I'm very selective on who I date, and you just never know. You never know. It was scary. And when I look back at it, I'm thinking to myself, what in the hell were you thinking? That was the stupidest thing anybody could have done. And in my investigation, I even emailed a freelance journalist in Ireland, and he would not say the name, but he did tell me it was a wealthy landowner, and he did hint around to that it was Bob, and he asked me a few questions, which I provided him with, and he basically told me that be careful. And I did have the Gardaí contact me and wanting to talk to me, but I got a little bit scared and I didn't really have any information for them. So, yeah. That's my story time. Absolutely crazy. I certainly wouldn't do that again. But anyways, it is 11 o'clock here. I need to take some pills still. And I think I'm going to go do that. So I shared with you guys in my last vlog about my fish that I got, Willie. He literally will sit in his tank for hours and stare at me. I don't know. It's kind of creepy. But he's a little bit more active now. I think he's getting used to his new home. And he really is an adorable little guy. I love him so much. So until next time, guys, happy living. Hey guys, I just wanted to put this in here really quickly before I end the video. I just want to say that if you do know or have any information about Fiona Pender's disappearance, she still has not been found. Her family does suspect that she is deceased. But if you do have information, please contact your local authorities and let them know that you have information about Fiona Pender's disappearance. The one thing I think that would help the family the most, especially her mother. Her mother, apparently, according to news articles, is very ill, very sick. I think it would really help her to be able to bring her baby home or know what happened to her precious child. And like I said in my video, I just feel a connection to Fiona. I feel so bad for her. I feel so bad for her baby. I feel so bad for her mom and her brother. And so if you do have any information, please, please don't be afraid. Please contact your local authorities or the police in Ireland and let them know that you have information pertaining to the disappearance of Fiona Pender. Thank you.